changing your life one story at a time. This is the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast with Editor-in-Chief Amy Newmark.
Hey, it's Amy Newmark, and today I'm pleased to bring back Dr. Mike Dow for his third appearance on the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast. What I love about Dr. Mike Dow is his practical approach to psychology. And since this is the time of year when most of us get a little more stressed about things, I thought it would be great to get some tips from Mike for how we can manage our way through the holiday season. So, Mike, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Amy.
So, Mike is a very highly sought-after psychotherapist. He is the New York Times bestselling author of The Brain Fog Fix and Diet Rehab. He has a new book out that just came out this year called Healing the Broken Brain, which was co-written with his brother, and it's about his brother having a stroke at age 10 and having to relearn everything. He has another book coming out in February called Heal Your Drained Brain, Naturally Relieve Anxiety, Combat Insomnia, and Balance Your Brain in Just 14 Days. He's also a regular on a whole bunch of different television shows that you may have seen, like you may have seen him on Dr. Oz, you may have seen him on The Doctors, on The Today Show, Good Morning America, Wendy Williams, Rachel Ray, and it goes on and on and on. He's actually a regular guest on Dr. Oz, and he's a recurring guest co-host on The Doctors. He's also heard weekly on Hay House Radio's The Dr. Mike Show. He has an MS degree in psychology, and he has a doctorate in psychology. And in addition to writing books and being on TV, he still sees patients in his psychotherapy practice. So he's a busy guy, knows a lot about handling stress, right?
I'm managing my own stress as I'm helping other people through theirs, Amy.
All right. So we are in the thick of the holiday season now. So let's talk about, you see patients, you hear it all the time. What do your patients tell you are their big holiday stress areas, and what do you tell your patients they can do?
Yeah, so, it's funny. The holidays are often associated with joy and family and love and gifts, but I would say that with all of the travel and airports and road rage and family members we may or may not see eye to eye with comes a lot of holiday stress. So it's certainly a time of love and family and all that, but a lot of other things get triggered too. If you've lost somebody, the stress of that gets triggered. Certainly around the holidays, it's a reminder of that. Money, if it's time for holiday gifts or end of the year finance review, or you get that little pop up from your credit card looking at your annual end of year spend, and you think, oh my gosh, did we really spend that much money on going out to eat this year or whatever it is? And certainly end of the year food and weight, entertaining, trying to be that perfect holiday card family, trying to create that perfect holiday New Year casserole for people. But, whatever stressor you are dealing with, whatever it is in your family, I have a lot of practical solutions that I would like to sort of go through and help your listeners with, because, what I love about what I think you and I really agree, Amy, that a lot of the solutions are really simple. And if we just stop, there are a lot of 45 or 60-second fixes for people out there. And the solutions are often within yourself. So that's what I think we could talk about today.
Interestingly, December 28th last year, I talked to you for one of our podcasts, and my mother had been rushed to the hospital that day. And there I am recording podcasts because what am I going to do? I had the studio booked. I had to do it, and I didn't even let on to you. And I'm checking my phone every 2 seconds for updates from my brother and my sister, and I rushed to the hospital right after the podcast recording session, and then she died. So let's start with negotiating the holidays, especially when it's your first holiday after losing somebody.
So first, I think it's really important, for you, Amy, this will actually be your first, the first full holiday season after your loss. And I think it's really important that we are gentle with ourselves. And, listen, when we have that, it's really wonderful to text and to email, but there's nothing like sitting in a room with your family members where that conversation, when the conversation has a chance to just sit and sort of grow. So I think it's really a time to sort of heal and be gentle with ourselves. It's funny when you were talking about what you had to do. One of the simplest fixes so I think it's a matter of balancing that, the healing and the being gentle with ourselves. And then it's also a matter of balancing one of the simple fixes, and this is for all people, maybe not people who are dealing with a loss that's really current, is one of the basic principles of cognitive behavioral therapy, if you are dealing with a stress and if you are somebody who ruminates in anxiety or depression or sadness, is you do something that brings you pleasure or purpose. And for you, it was recording your podcast. Even sometimes when you feel like it's something that you have to do, sometimes that can help us to move through things. And even in those times when it feels like, oh gosh, I wish I could just sit at home all day and do nothing. Sometimes those responsibilities that bring us a little bit of productivity, or I think in terms of self-care, the activities that bring us a little pleasure. Maybe it's a hot bath, maybe it's a spa day, or getting a manicure with your daughter or something like that. Maybe that activity is something that can help you to move through with a little bit of grace.
And what do you do for people who are dreading the holidays because they're going to have that same old argument about religion or politics, or they're bringing a new boyfriend with them who's a different religion or different culture? How do you handle differences at these family events where stress can cause some real outbursts at the holidays?
Yeah, so I have some advice, and you really have to remember this one simple mantra, and it is choose your battles. And, it's something that, we have in my family, there are some differing political opinions. So there are certainly discussions that happen in my family before we get to the holiday table, to certain family members to avoid these conversations. So I think, choosing your battles, and, sometimes avoidance is, listen, in psychology, sometimes avoidance is a strategy that is, associated with pathology. But sometimes when it comes to the holidays, avoidance is a wonderful strategy. And I think when it comes to families and leaving politics off the table, I don't think anyone is going to leave a Thanksgiving table. If somebody is a hardcore, fill in the blank political party, or hardcore fill in the blank, religion, I don't think anyone is going to leave that table another political party or religion. So I think it's just time to enjoy and realize what you're there for. And it's probably not that kind of discussion. We have plenty of that if we turn on the news, 363 days out of the year.
Yeah, it definitely takes two to make a fight. So even if Uncle Joe says something really reprehensible at the table, it's better to just go right past it and not address it. So, okay, another thing, and I know this particularly affects women, is that we want to be everything to everyone, and we want everything to be perfect. We want to pick out the perfect gift for every person, not just write a check. Although I have to confess, I write a check a lot. We want the house to look perfect. We want to entertain well. We want to cook everything from scratch. Okay, here's my confession. Bring it in from some other store. But anyway, how do we get over that desire to be perfect? What do you tell your patients or your clients who are obsessing over perfection?
I have one very simple piece of advice for them. Remember that when you are saying yes to somebody, so if you are saying yes to the strangers, not the strangers, but the colleagues who are coming over to your house, and you are saying yes to them, you are saying no to somebody else in your life. So if you are saying yes by spending 12 hours making your house perfect and going around town getting the perfect holiday dressings, foods, whatever whatever it may be, that means you're saying no to maybe people who are more important to you. Maybe you're saying no to yourself. You're saying no to your career. You're saying no to your son by taking time away from them. So just remember that it's always a balancing act, and ask yourself, who do I want to say yes to? So maybe it's a matter of, you know what, I'm not going to be perfect because I'm choosing to, say yes to my son. And you know what, the house is going to be okay, but it's not going to be perfect. And, I have to say, Amy, I think writing a check is fine. And in this day and age, I think this is a wonderful time to take advantage of technology. So, there are some wonderful apps, food delivery apps. You can get, if you forget to pick up wine for the holiday party, there's an app for that will deliver wine to your house. If you forget to get some food, there's an app for that will deliver you everything from, fast food to 5-star restaurants, and it'll be there within 30 minutes. And there are apps for, donating to charities and gifts. And so there, the days of having to drive an hour into a crowded mall parking lot and spending half your day running around town, those days are gone. So I think it's a great time to use technology to our benefit so that we can say yes to the people who are most important to us.
Yeah, I love doing stuff online. I mean, I'm famous for buying stuff Christmas Eve, because if you give somebody something you bought online Christmas Eve, like a subscription service or a trip or something, they don't know that you didn't buy it a month earlier. They have no idea that you bought it Christmas Eve. One year I gave my husband a trip to Costa Rica, which I did the entire thing Christmas Eve. I made a little pretty document. I did the whole thing online Christmas Eve, gave it to him for Christmas Day. The really funny thing, though, was he apparently had done the exact same thing, because he handed me a ski trip on Christmas Day. So we handed each other different vacations, and we had to go away twice, like in 1 month, You
know what I do, Amy? I give a lot of gift cards, but I don't even go to the store to get my gift cards. I buy gift cards online, and now they email you the gift card, an e-gift card. So I also do it the night before. So I love that. I love that. We're very similar in that regard.
Yeah, because I just have to get it done. Now, another thing I've noticed people doing, and I don't really understand this. People are like very obsessed with weight and food, and then I see them stuffing their faces during the Christmas season, even eating beyond like what they actually want, just because they're saying, well, I'm going to lose it all starting January 1st. And so they're just adding on like extra pounds. And it can't really feel good to do that, because, I mean, really, if you start eating that many desserts, you start to feel sick. So I don't understand the psychological impulse to stuff your face for that final week, because you're just adding on more that you're going to have to lose come January 1st.
And you don't want to start the year off that way. So, I treat a lot of eating disorders, including, by the way, the most common eating disorder, which is binge eating disorder. And, I think around the holidays, a lot of Americans would, at least temporarily, perhaps meet the diagnostic criteria for binge eating, right, around the holiday parties. So remember this mantra when it comes to those holiday parties. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So we know a couple things when it comes to research and weight loss, and I think a lot of these things are very true when it comes to those holiday parties. Number one, you do want to weigh yourself about once a week. Weighing yourself once a week will prevent you from that sort of ignorance is bliss philosophy, and then getting so behind on your weight loss goals that come January 1st, it feels so overwhelming, because what happens is you sort of know when we've let ourselves go, right? We all sort of know that. And when it reaches a certain point, the human beings, our brains just sort of go, well, I've blown it anyway, so I might as well just go for it. And weighing yourself every week sort of prevents you from, it sort of keeps us accountable in a way where we're not being obsessive and weighing ourselves 3 times a day, but we also have a benchmark, right? The other thing is, we know that if you tend to be a binge eater, eating 6 small meals throughout the day, that's a clinically proven strategy that prevents binge eating. So you can use a version of that strategy when it comes to those holiday parties by eating a small meal something that, something that contains either a whole fruit, a vegetable, a high protein, obviously, so we're looking at something healthy. So before you go to the holiday meal, you're going to eat something. If you're vegan, it could be, something with vegetables and a whole fruit. It could be a grilled chicken breast.